by the Spring Road, you know, right where the Edenbury Spring is down there by Lions.
We're gonna go home that way tonight, I'm gonna show
Up on
it.
the hill, there was a house up there,
Still there?
and just a one-room house,
Yep.
and she kept dogs in there.
Oh my gosh.
And I think at one point in time, like Hennepin County came out and took the dogs away because she'd have as high as 20, 25 dogs in that house. Never let them out. Now how she ever survived in there, lived in there is beyond me. But I can remember that, it's just, you know.
Do you remember how that Springs ever got the name of Miller Spring?
No, I don't.
Okay, I don't know if it's true, but what I have heard is that the Millers had a store. And you remember Kate Miller?
Yeah,
Okay, and her husband,
Fred,
Fred,
yeah.
they had a store, they had ice cream, they had overhauls, they had
Wow.
everything, they had gasoline, they had
Yep, yep.
they had a feed store and an implement dealer. John Deere.
Mm-hmm.
And that there, and then old Fred died,
Yeah,
and Kate was there, and Art, and Fred, and Norman, and Dewey had to help run the farm, and they wouldn't.
mm-hmm.
They didn't want, they didn't want to get their hands dirty, and they wanted to go hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
And they always had a couple of hired men,
Mm-hmm.
and Dutch was one of them.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, and that, but anyhow, she went up there, Frances Frederick would go up there, and they would give her credit because she had no money.
Mm-hmm.
And they had it under that and kept it on account. Pretty soon, she owed them so much money that they took the land.
Well, they took that house and the land there, huh?
Yeah.
I'll be darned. I
And
didn't know that.
and I mean, this is the way I.
That's how, that could be.
And she had 40 acres there, and it went from there up to Soames's,
Mm-hmm.
and there wasn't hardly a good acre in there.
Yeah, I know it. It was all woods and hills and.
Yeah, but anyhow, she got her food, and they got the land, and that springs, and they named it Miller Spring.
Miller Spring. Cause my mother we'd be going to Shakopee, something like this. Mother hauled a trailer load of corn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Frances Frederick could be walking there, and my mother would pick her up and take her to Shakopee, you know,
Sure.
and bring her back home if she was coming home. But
Yeah.
I can never figure out how she ever survived with all those dogs. And the Hennepin County would come out and take the dogs away.
Well,
And then pretty soon people knew that she would collect dogs, so they'd stop by the spring, throw the dog out. Frances Frederick had them up in her house, and you know, they knew they could drop off a dog there if they didn't want it, you know.
and they knew that the dog would have water.
Yeah.
So it was.
just one of
I
those-
mean, that's what I.
Could be, sure. But she was just, I mean, when I can remember her, just, and she'd be up at the library. She read books and all that stuff. She'd be up at the Edenbury Library at the school, getting books, you know, to read.
Okay.
So she'd educate herself, you know, by doing that. But she sure lived like nobody else did.
She would scare the gee whiz out of anybody.
Yeah.
Was she odd looking, you mean, or just?
Well,
Yeah, she
I
wasn't
should-
clean about herself, and she had like little sores on her, you know, like that. I think it's just from
And
living with those animals, you know.
that, and she was her clothes that she was after the third person threw it away, she took it.
Yeah. And how she ever survived there? Maybe from Miller. She probably got her food there, huh?
She got
Never
some.
knew that.
I think a lot of people brought her food.
Well, that could have been too, but I mean, it was,
On a daily basis.
you know, it's hard to tell, you know, that this is, there again, this is how stories get started.
Did she walk? She'd have
Yeah.
to
Oh,
walk, she
yes.
didn't have a car.
Oh, no, she
No,
didn't
she
have a car,
never
no.
go.
All she had was dogs.
And they
But-
didn't pull her around.
You grew up without cars also.
Well, yeah,
Sure.
but there again, we had folks that had a car that could go someplace.
Right.
And basically, she was, quote, back in those days, she was a long ways away from where we lived. Because
She was.
the closest way we could get to her would be if we walked across our farm and that there, and then we would still be a mile and a half if we walked the closest
We
way. And
living
then,
yet?
and to go the other way, you'd have to go from our place down to the Spring Road, and then half a mile down the Spring Road. I mean,
But Spring Road was a popular way to Shakopee.
there you go, that was
And
the Spring Road.
so a lot of people used it and people would take things to her.
That could be too, and there was a lot of people that stopped by there and picked up water too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, I tell you that, oh gads. No,
For toys, what did you have for toys growing up?
well,
Or things that you did to entertain yourself?
we would, actually, when we was very small, we had very few toys. When we got a toy, it was one toy that did, we may have got a sled or a wagon, but that was for the four of us. And maybe we got another little coloring book or something like that there. But I mean, basically, there was not too many, there was not gifts under the whole, it didn't take up half of a room to give
No.
us all our toys. And all I can say is, I will have to say that my folks were very lucky that they had one, the one brother of my mother's was a priest, and he usually brought out a fairly good gift for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and that was, I mean, sometimes it was, like one year it was an electric train, and that, and other things, you know, so, I mean, we were, you know, fortunate in that sense. But, no, it was, what we did, the one year I can remember, John must have been maybe 8 or 10, and so Bert and I was 3 years younger than he was, so we may have been 7, 8, something like that there. We got a toboggan, 6-foot toboggan. We thought, boy, we really got it. Well, John wasn't old enough to really know what he was doing with a toboggan. And Bert and I sure didn't know nothing about, all we knew is that we wanted to go and ride on the toboggan. Well, we went out to the edge of there about a quarter of a mile out. There was a nice hill. And it looked like it was good for sliding. It was high enough, it had enough sled there. And John was out there and he was supposed to guide us down the hill. We went, we the three of us got out there and John got it all lined up and how we was going to go down the hill. And Bert and I got on there and John jumped on there, or we all three got on there. Down the hill we started. All of a sudden, there was a stump right in front of John. Pow!
Everybody went flying, huh?
Went flying. How we ever, all three got out of there with hardly a scratch. John, I think he hit on the stump a little bit. But anyhow, we all walked back, but the toboggan was all, the one corner was all smashed up, smashed in, oh, God.
Didn't last long, huh?
No.
Roger, didn't you get a toboggan one time too?
We did too. We did the same thing. We got a toboggan like that.
For
And
everybody.
we went down and by, well, it had been Cedar Hills, down by Rudy Burgers,
Yeah,
And we, down there, we found that big slope down there, so we spent almost a half a day building a big jump, piling snow in there, And we'd come down on that thing and go off that jump like that and fly. Oh man, we thought we were in seventh heaven. I think there's 4 or 5 of us on a toboggan, Away we go down that hill, over that jump. I could spend a whole day doing that tobogganing. That was a big thing. That was a Christmas present for all of us, like at Christmas. It was a big present. Then besides that, there wasn't any gifts, so we'd get like new pair of mittens or new socks or something like that, the warm clothing to wear. That was the other gifts you'd get. It wasn't the toys or anything like that. It was clothing that you needed really, and a nice pair of gloves or new socks or whatever it was. That was a big treat then.
yeah, I tell you, it was, that's why I say, it's different than it is today.
Sure.
No, no.
Yeah.
But after thinking about it, you have to laugh about it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you had fun with what you had.
Yeah, yep. And I was thinking about here the other day, when Dale and I were, we were probably 10 years old, maybe 12 years old, 13 years old, and at Flying Cloud Airport was nothing there but a landing strip.
Yeah.
All it was, just planes, those those yellow planes that come down,
Yeah.
they'd land. And
By
take off.
wings.
Yeah, by wings. We'd sit there and we'd watch them, just fascinated by these airplanes. So here about 7, 8 years ago, we were down in Pensacola, or in Florida, and we went over to Pensacola to the Air Force Museum over there, a Navy museum, I guess. And there was these bi-wing planes down there, and there was a guide taking a bunch of people through there. They said, well, I'm just gonna walk along with this crew, and hear what the guide had to say, and he was talking about all these planes. Now, he said, this one here, and it was the same planes that we saw up there. He said, these yellowing planes, he said, that's the one that George H. Bush flew. He said, and they trained somewhere up in Minnesota. He said, I don't know where, but he's somewhere in Minnesota where they trained how to land these planes and take off. He said, I might have been watching George H. Bush there, I don't know. Because we were sitting in the ditch watching them go up and down, like that, landing and taking off,
Well, see, we had that, that big field out there on the west of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a half a mile where they could swoop down and go level, and then by Schmitz then, or the other way.
Go the other way, yeah.
They'd go up, and.
Yeah, that was funny.
I mean, there used to be as high as 20, 25 in there.
I know it.
Flying at one time
Yeah, and it was right about the time that
during the war.
George Bush would have been a few years older than us, so he would have been practicing landing up there, see, in
Sure.
Flying Cloud, but we didn't know it. But when the guy said somewhere in Minnesota, and that's the only place I knew of that they ever had flew those planes around up there,
Well,
on a Flying Cloud. Somewhere, I suppose, they must have come out of Pullman Field in St. Paul or somewhere that they.
Yeah. But there again, they didn't have the open space up there to,
Right.
and the World Chamberlain, they didn't,
Yeah.
they couldn't fly there with all the commercial stuff coming in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but that was entertainment to go up there and watch those guys flying around, landing, taking off. That was a big treat.
And the runways were still gravel then?
Pardon?
The runways were still gravel then?
That one, there was nothing out there but just a gravel line strip. No buildings or anything. You just come down, they land like that and take like that, and ready to take off. They just kept circling all day like that, practicing. About 3 days a week probably they were out there doing that.
We're getting to the point of no battery. So,
Okay.
So if there's something you wanna say, make sure that we get recorded, now would be the time.
Okay.
You know, just, you don't know when they're gonna quit.
Well, I appreciate all what you're doing here, Norm. It's been a kind of a treat to come here and be able to have a nice lunch and
Thank you, Nancy.
be able to talk about the old times. Thanks to Nancy for doing that for us, and Al. It's really nice to have us come into your home and treat us this well. I really appreciate it.
Why don't you tell a little about canning there? I'm sorry.
Canning. Tell about your canning.
Your canning, your beets are
Your
there.
beets.
Oh, my pickled beets, yeah. Well, here's that's for Nancy. Anyway, I do those pickled beets. It came out of my mother's recipe that she had for years, and I always loved them when I was a kid. We always had a pantry on the farm,
Oh, yes.
and I can remember sneaking up there and getting
Stealing
on
them.
a little ladder, and I got to get in and eat those pickled beets out of there like that. And then my mother kind of joked with me. She said, "Now, who's in the pickled beets?" I wasn't. Well, my fingers were all red, you know. It was a dead giveaway. But I loved them from the time. So I got that recipe, and I've been doing that for about 25 years. I've been canning these. I'm doing about 100 jars a year, and give them all away. This year I didn't get that many done. I'm slowing down. I got 70 done this year, but they're good. I entered them in the state fair here a few years back. Got second place, so that was pretty good. They are good beets, and people enjoy them if they like. Some people don't know. You say, "Have you ever eaten pickled beets?" And they say, "No, I've never eaten beets." A lot of people don't, so I don't know what it is, but the people that like them really like them. So they go for it.
Let's see, when you were growing up, canning them, processing food in the home, what was that like?
Well, we had what you might call a big garden.
Yeah.
With all the
Yeah.
mother had. She had, I mean, downstairs in the basement there was this, I mean, I don't know how many jars of canned goods that she would have. She'd have potatoes down there, and, in there until spring, and there was beets and that, and she had all kinds of, well, we had an ice cream freezer long before there was the freezers that were made, sold for a, freezer. We had an ice cream chest down in the basement, and that was an 8-holder, and that was always full. So I mean, mother was busy canning, and she'd can 10, 12 cases of peaches and stuff. And that. So and by the next spring it was gone. I mean, but it was a necessary evil for those people. I mean, what I can't figure out yet to this day is how my mother got as much done as she did, and she still had time to crochet and do fancy work at night, and she took care of the eggs, and we had 300, 400 chickens that were laying, and she'd sit there and she'd be cleaning eggs and wiping them off. All of a sudden she'd been slowing down, and then all of a sudden she would drop an egg, and she was fast enough that she'd swoop it up before it hit the floor.
Wow.
I don't know, I can't figure out how she could do that. But I mean, then she'd pick that egg up, and then she'd be awake again, and then she'd be going and that, and then she'll,
Roger, I can remember your mother bringing potatoes and carrots in and putting them in her basement. Do you remember
Yeah.
doing that?
Yep, we had the big potato patch, and they had a big potato bin down there, and carrots. And we always had a big crock. My mother had a big crock like that big around, one of those like Red Wing
Yeah.
crocks, with a big plate. I don't know how they had a plate that big, but they had sauerkraut in there. And we'd go down there, and when we get the sauerkraut, you lift the plate up, and it was always black on top. But you'd lift the black, the stuff that was a little dark, and you get the good sauerkraut from underneath, you know, and then they put the plate back down, and just, it was a rock on top of that plate, you know, and that's kept that sauerkraut good all winter long. We have sauerkraut a lot because we have the cabbage, you know, they chop it up.
And then when you killed a couple pork, I mean, you made a lot of sausage, and you had the sausage grinder,
Right.
and you had you had to clean out the innards of the pig, to get the casings for that there, and then you would go and render the lard and that, and then you take that pork the pork sausage in there and that, and put it in there and cover it with lard and stuff, and that was that sealed it, so it
Sure.
protected it, and
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Great
That
work.
was it too. I just can't, it's hard, I never knew how my dad learned how to do what he did with the carpentry work and the farming he did, but when it came to making sausages and the head cheese and pig's feet, and he did all that. However he learned how to do all that, I don't know.
well,
But he knew how to do all that stuff and season the stuff, and he ate, it was good, you know, the sausage he made and cured the hams, and he did all that, you know, just, it's
I guess,
amazing.
you know, really the thing of it is, we didn't have to do it. If you wouldn't have had the experience, you know that when you eat your food, you like it seasoned, and then you just did it,
Yeah,
and 9 times out of 10, you can't spoil it
yeah,
if you don't put excessive in.
yeah,
And I think that's what they did. It was trial and error to start with. If you didn't cut a board off once to see if it was right, you'd cut it off again, and it was still too short.
yeah.
Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
did your dad enjoy being on the farm? He was more, that was more Helen's thing, wasn't
I
it?
think so, yeah. I think that he would have liked to stay doing the, and that's how she met him. He might have been working for, wonder if he wasn't working for somebody, building a barn somewhere. Forget just where the story is, but anyway, that's how my mother met him. He was doing carpentry work, building in a barn, and then maybe it was one of Grandpa's farms or whatever, something like that, and that's how she met him.
Now, going back to something, your dad, when he was in service, when was he in?
Oh, boy, he was in about, I think 1918, 19, somewhere in there.
It was in, the latter part of the First World War.
Yeah,
But did he get overseas?
no, he never did.
Oh, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He got down into Virginia somewhere. He was stationed there, and then he never did get overseas. No.
Okay. No, I mean, not to get nosy, but was he hurt with that he had a hard of hearing?
He had that injured in the service,
Okay.
but somewhere in the process they lost the records,
Sounds just
and
about
he could never claim anything on it. So
That
that's what happened with that one, because that should have been service connected, you know, with a hearing loss.
Yeah.
But the records supposedly were lost, and he never did get anything out of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, that was one of those things.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't have the things to keep records the
No.
way they do now.
no.
No.
Yeah, I think it was 1918 or 19, somewhere in there, about the end of that, toward the end of the World War I.
Okay. Is that still going on? Okay.
Yep.
Well, anyhow, we want to thank you for getting this good with Nancy and bringing us, being able to get here.
Nancy's done it.
Yes,
It
it's
was,
invaluable, information, honest to beat, it's wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Just to let them talk about what things were
That's
like.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's really been interesting sitting here listening to you guys. The stuff you have to tell.
no, I tell you what, sometimes it sounds just about like as though it's impossible that it could have been like that. You know, it's
Yeah,
like, it's just like when we listen to our folks, I mean, what they had to go through, well, it's just like Nancy's grandpa Harry, I mean, they had a milk route going into Minneapolis to
Yep.
Northland Creamery for many years. And they had to go in there with horses and mules and horses and wagons and sleds,
Yeah.
taking the milk into Minneapolis. I mean, you know, you wonder how they could make that back in a day.
Well, I'm walking to school into Hopkins,
Yeah,
you know, from out
Yeah.
here.
yeah. I mean, it's unreal.
yeah.
How many
I remember,
miles was it?
Grandpa Roger telling me about how he survived when he got his first team of horses. He had the river bottoms, and he put his crops down there, you know, and he had good, he said he had good luck, because it didn't flood out.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to touch it, because it was always flooding out, but the years he had it, a couple of years down there, and he made a lot of money on it. He got his own team of horses. And then he told me, he said from then, in the crops were all done in the fall of the year, then he said he'd go into around Glen Lake in Hopkins, and in its area, it was all raspberry farmers and small. They always had a cow and some chickens and, you know, something like that. And they had a pile of haystacks out there that they didn't use. And he said he'd buy those haystacks from them because they didn't want them. He'd give them a quarter for the whole stack of haystacks. He'd load that up and he'd haul it down to delivery tables down in Minneapolis. And he started selling it down there for big money. He said he made money like crazy. He said all winter long he was going around to these little farms and picking up these haystacks, buying them for almost nothing. Then he'd haul them downtown and he'd sell them for, you know,
Whatever
whatever
you
we
could
get out of them. So that's how he made a survival in the winter, you know. He figured it out. He was an entrepreneur, you know, I mean, how to do it and when to do it.
Don't like Grandpa Rogers there, I mean, our grandpa, he was an entrepreneur.
Oh,
You
sure
know,
he
He was,
Absolutely.
he
No
had,
doubt.
he had a business going,
Yeah, he knew how to do it.
A hard way to come all that way and live by yourself, you know, and do all that he did. It was just amazing.
yeah. Well, but see, there was, what was it, five relatives or something that came over from England, or
Yeah.
7? I mean, there was, you know, and they all made it going out, but.
Yeah.
you know,
I can remember him saying to Roger, "Oh, Roger," after we were married, "Roger, you got a healthy one." And I wasn't a skinny little thing.
Yeah, those were the days. When you're young, you can work, you know, work hard.
Oh, I had never worked on a farm before, that's for sure.
When John started farming on the river bottoms, and he was growing celery and asparagus, wasn't he?
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
God.
and there was a Indian woman from Shakopee
Mm-hmm.
that had been doing it for quite some time. So John, I know, hired her, and she taught him all kinds of things about growing it. And so he always, you know, when I'd stay with him or things, he would always tell me how thankful and grateful he was to that Indian woman who taught him, you know, so many things about
Yeah.
farming.
I had never heard that, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
I do remember vaguely when we were little kids going to Shakopee, there used to be a back road, remember?
Yeah, the
Indian
Indian
road.
road.
The Indian road they called it?
Yeah,
And there still was some teepees and stuff out in there where the Indians were living in there yet.
Yes. The Indian Road is still there.
It's still
and,
there?
C.V. Peterson, I believe, takes people for rides on it on years when it's open.
Okay.
yeah, I tell you, it's,
Like all these people down the cities that are living in them huts. Isn't that something?
That's a whole nother.
They won't.
Well, do you remember
They won't
those,
move, will
where
they?
that Indian road went, where, was it Hilton's that lived
yeah,
there?
Hilton,
Well, we were down there, we were on a Sunday, a bunch of us kids would always play basketball on Sunday. And I was probably, I don't know, maybe we were out of high school. went down to the Lions, well, it was the Lions staff at the
Yeah.
time. We were getting down and having a glass of beer or something down there after a ball game. Somebody come driving in there and said, there's a house on fire right up the street here, right up the road. So we jumped in our cars, we went up there, and sure enough, Hilton's house was burning, you know, it was really going like, and him and the Mr. and Mrs. Hilton, I don't think they ever had any children, I remember.
I don't think.
But they were sitting at the kitchen table eating. And you know, we and in there we jumped to open the door, and I remember in there you could see the chimney, you could see the roof, you know, coming down ready in there, and they didn't even know it. I mean, you gotta get you out of here, you gotta get your houses on fire. And they looked and they realized it. And she kept saying, go get the vase out of the bedroom, get the vase out of the bedroom. I bet it was full of money, you know, I don't know.
Oh,
Because we can't get in there, we gotta get you out of here. And we got them out of there, and somebody had called the fire department. By the time the fire department was there, the house was gone. Whatever was in that vase, we never knew. But there was something that she kept hollering, go get the vase out of the bedroom, get that vase out of the bedroom.
well, I thought maybe
Maybe.
you get the vase and you pour water onto it.
Right. Well, I don't know. I thought about it. I wonder if that was full of money or something that they were
wouldn't be surprised
asking,
if
who
they-
knows?
Cause that's the way they did it, they would have hiding places.
Hiding places.
Well, you didn't have banks.
They wouldn't trust the
They never
bank.
had a
They
safe in
lost the
those
money in,
days.
what was it, 1923, when you know, the banks closed.
Yeah.
And a lot of them lost a lot of their money.
They didn't
Sure.
trust banks.
No, they didn't trust them.
You know, there's a lot of stuff around like that, stories, you know, about different people I know of, but, even, Norm Kopetsky and old Hank, you know,
Oh, yeah.
they were related somehow to the Pabudas.
Oh, yeah, they were sisters,
There's something there.
Mrs. Pabuda and
Yeah,
the
and
Kopetskis.
Norman and his dad, old Hank, he said they went over there to borrow berry sticks from Pabuda, you know.
Yeah.
Said because they didn't have enough berry sticks for the raspberries. He said, well, you go out behind the barn out there and you take all the stakes you want. So they were loading them up in the trailer. There was a can, it was full of money in there. There's $8,000 in the can of money that I don't think he even knew it was there.
They forgot it was there.
Forgot it was there, see?
Well, the old man, I think, had put it there.
Instead of putting it in the bank, he put it underneath the berry stakes. He said we found that can there and opened up and looked in there and there was money in there. So they weren't trusting the banks.
Unreal.
See, when you talk about that, then Sally Smith was married to Frank,
Frank,
and they both got killed, didn't they, down in, by Vegas, down there.
Vegas, yep.
The airplane crash, yeah. And he was supposedly, Frank, he was a big time gambler from what Norman told me.
Yeah.
Said he was with the Sinatras and those guys, big gambling at the tables there. He said that he was in for the big bucks. He'd go for it.
John and Blanche, I don't think John, it was John's dad who I think had the money in the container that you're talking about. And see, that would have been Frank's dad and
Yeah.
mother. And I think they had, you know, they just didn't know because John's dad had died and didn't tell him.
Mm-hmm.
That could be.
Yeah.
Well, we start gonna have to go out here and start digging in the backyard, we might find a gold mine.
Well, the whole thing is they lived through times that were hard.
Yep.
And so they weren't gonna trust anybody with their money but themselves.
And they forgot. And then they got old and senile and they forgot
Yeah.
where they was put. Never told nobody.
That's the thing, if you'd only had told your kids or something.
No, it's unreal.
Gonna have that on that tape now?
Oh, well.
That's okay.
Well, now Norm, you should tell something about when you was a kid. What happened? What did I do that I shouldn't have?
Don't need to go there.
Yeah.
So after high school, what did each one of you do?
Pardon?
After high school, what did each one of you do?
Well, I farmed for a little bit, and probably 3 years or so, and then I went to work at Red All. I worked for Red All for 32 years probably.
Red Owl, what's Red Owl?
Food store.
And then I went from there to Super Value for a couple, 2 or 3 years.
Did you work at Super for a couple of years?
Yeah, I was there 2.5 years at Super Value.
Oh, okay.
Then I got out of there, and then I just, went on a workman's comp because I had injured my back again.
Okay.
Then I finally just hung it up, and at age 60 I wasn't working anymore, that was it.
You see, I started at Red Owl in 1956.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was July 16th it was, I think, in 80s, in 1956.
But you had already been in the service.
Yes, I went in service from 51 to 53. And then I was in the warehouse until 1956, 70 or 71. Then I went driving for 15 years, just short of 15 years, and then I hurt my back, and they had to keep me on workers' comp for a year, and then I was forced to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't go to the service, Roger, could you? Because you went down for your exam, remember?
Yeah, I went down to the, to get into service, and my feet, I had bad feet, so they just got to that point, and they looked at my feet, and they said, go put your clothes on and go home. Before F.
4F.
What did you do
Simple
on
as
your
that.
foot?
He's got hammer toes.
Oh my gosh, you got him wrapped up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for his legs now.
Oh, that
Yeah.
old
area,
age.
I got a,
Oh, that's all I see was that.
that one there, I got a little
It looked like
sore in there, I gotta take care of that first, before I get rid of my bandages on there.
Roddy, what did you
Do you have diabetes too?
Yeah.
You got
Oh, then you go sore, you get diabetes,
Yeah,
you get a
it
sore in
it
there.
takes me a while before I
You
get
get blood poisoning.
How can you
Yeah, I gotta be
stand there?
careful with it.
My
I like
feet
to be
get so
really careful
cold.
with
Oh, no, I like that.
Type 2, but I don't take anything for it, I mean, it's always keep it just by
Good.
diet and that, I just, haven't had any,
My one
take
gets
anything,
cold.
but
I got trouble with.
yet when you get a sore down there, I have full circulation down the legs, and then,
My gosh.
that's not
Roddy,
good.
what did you do for Red All? What
Me?
did, yes.
Warehouse,
But also you were the union guy.
yeah, for many, many years, yeah.
Union Steward.
Yeah,
That's how they got raises and stuff, by having somebody that, a representative of the workers were
There
there.
was only one thing that they could not do, and that is to get a raise on your pension with the cost of living.
yeah,
The young guys after us would not go for that.
I know it. Yeah, there should have been a cost of living in there, but you could have had,
Because my paycheck is the same today as it was
me too,
in 1986 when I got my
Yeah.
first one.
me too, I haven't got it raised in all
Never.
the years I've been, since 91. So,
But now they have the pensions raised as, what do they have now? What did they get, so that the pensions money would raise as time went on?
I don't think they have.
No. They don't get a raise, but they increase the pensions so that instead of, like Roger, when he retired, he got more than I did.
Yeah, 'cause he was there longer, you mean?
He was there longer, and there was a new contract made, and there was a raise in the pension. But when you went out on pension, that's what you got.
Yeah.
Now, like say, for example, Raj, right now, let's say, for example, say it was $1,200. And now today, when you retire, you may get 2,000.
Sure.
And you don't come up to the 2,000, you stay at the 1,200, and then that person there lives for another 40 years after he retires, and he gets 2,000.
So has that been added since? You mean that, do
Increase?
they, do the fellows now have a better deal than you guys did?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
they-
heavens, yes.
Oh, yeah, they got a lot better deal.
But there again, times have changed.
Yeah,
They negotiated better contracts, you know, bigger contracts after we got out of there,
Sure.
but,
Is there still red owls?
No, they're at all.
They're in
but what we wanted to get, what I wanted to get in there was some kind of prescription coverage for your prescriptions, but you couldn't get it, they wouldn't give it, you know.
Oh, no.
Boy, that would be nice if you could retire and
And
have
get
some kind of
drugs.
a thing on your prescription, because that's when your money really goes when you get older, you know. You got so many things that you have to have, medications, but you can never get that in there, they wouldn't go for that.
Tell us about your first car or vehicle. What was your first vehicle that you had?
Boy, I have to think.
you didn't wanna buy the farm across the street, you wanted to buy a car.
Yeah, I had a chance there to buy it. The guy across the road from us, the guy had 8 kids, and he bought 12 acres of land right across the road from where Pemberton's farm was there, you know, from us. And he was gonna raise vegetables and stuff like that and make money, you know, and he had those 8 kids out there all the time working, and they were arguing and they wouldn't hoe the stuff, and he was just having a heck of a time, and the weather got dry. And he'd come over and get our tractor and trailer, and he'd haul milk cans of water over, and he'd water his tomato plants, and he went 2 years like that. He paid, I think he paid, what did he pay? I think he paid $2,400 for the 12 acres, $200 an acre.
Yeah.
So after 2 years, he just came over one day and he said, that's it, he said, I want to get my money out. He said, I don't want to make any money, I just want to get what I got in there. I'm going to offer it to you because I've been using your equipment. He said, you can buy that for what I paid for it. I said, no, I want a new car. I passed it up and I said, boy, I wish I had 12 acres out there right now.
Oh, but that's the way it was. Well, like back in 1946, 1950, you could buy all of Eden Prairie for $200
Yeah, sure.
an acre. But you didn't have the $200 and you couldn't make enough dollars to
Right.
pay for it.
Yeah.
But he'd buy a car, but we've laughed about that, I said, oh my God.
No, but actually, my easiest 2 years of my life was the 2 years that I was in service, except that I was not home.
Mm-hmm.
I had my drug, my doctor, my drug, my bed, everything was furnished to me, my eats, and I got a paycheck.
Where were you stationed, or what did you do?
You know something? What I did was, if you have to learn when you're in service, you keep your mouth shut and don't be noticed by anybody. Just stay low keyed, and you don't get into trouble. You don't have to do hardly any guard duty or anything, and if you're not in the war, we did only on
Yeah.
May 1st, when we was in Germany. I was overseas for a year and a half, and the only time that we got a gun with a rifle with live ammunition was on May 1st, when the countries over there all they go berserk, and on that, and you weren't safe, and they gave you ammunition and that, and we had to go and stand around our fences and keep people out.
They go berserk.
Yeah, I mean, it's May Day is
Military.
Oh, is it? Okay,
I mean, and not only for the United States, it's around the world.
yeah.
I mean, and that, no, so we had, other than that, I mean, that was good.
Do you think you had good lives, men? You two men, do you think you've had a good life, Roger and Norm?
But for our whole life,
Yes.
I myself have to say, I had a good life. I can't say, after losing 2 spouses, and,
Yes, yes.
and with the third one, no, I had a terrible life. But at the same time, all I have to do is look around and see what other people have, and I've had a blessed life.
Yes.
I mean, when you haven't lost a spouse, you don't know what, you can't imagine what you missed.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I hate to talk about it, but that's truly what's,
It's okay.
it's hard.
Imagine it is.
Mhm.
And like with Lucille and I right now, I'm 90. I got no life left, except I'm living, and I have to live. And I am more than thankful to have her my age and be able to talk to her
Have a companion.
and have a companion
Yep.
and being good. I mean, and no, it's
Your losses were 2 terrible losses for you before you married her.
yes. I mean,
Absolutely.
I had two of them that were not easy.
Yep.
And but it can't be helped. That's life.
Yeah.
We have to accept life as it's dealt to us, and we have to make the best of what we've got. No,
Do you think we're given what we need for our journeys?
Pardon?
Do you think we're given what we need for our journeys?
Oh, sure, I think we are.
we are. All we have to do is accept what they
Yes,
give us,
exactly.
and not want the cake and eat it too. I mean, it's they didn't tell us that this was going to be a bed of roses.
It
I
never
mean,
is.
we do know one thing, that Nancy's got one of the dozens sitting in her kitchen right now. No, right here they are.
Beautiful roses that Norm bought.
Cheer them. No, but I mean, it's, no, that's the way it is.
And we've had a good life. Well, I think we have. We've had, you know, like I say, 65 years are going on that, and 3 children that are all good children, they're good, productive people. Well, that's all you can ask. If you get those kids in and get out on their own and they take care of themselves and do well,
That's right.
they're good citizens. You can't ask for any more than that. And they're great grandchildren and great grandchildren, and so it's just it's a blessing to be at this point and look back at those little kids and see them now. It's something else. To see the 2 little greats, you know, you can look at them so differently. That
Charlotte and
one of
Nellie.
them is kind of like a little rascal, and the other one's kind of real dainty and, you know, like a little ladylike, and the 2 different personalities there, and it's
Unreal.
Yeah,
Little angels.
it's something else.
You know, I'd hate to say it, but pretty soon, Lucille and I are gonna have to get in our car, and we're gonna have to head back
Before it gets dark on you.
Before it gets dark, because
Yeah.
our eyes don't focus
That's
as good
right.
after it's dark.
You can't see that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just wanna thank Norm and Nancy and
Yeah.
This
and
was
Alan
interesting.
for working this out.
Yeah, that was very nice, very nice.
It was our pleasure.
Yes.
Yes.
We're gonna have some good history
Yeah.
for our kids.